Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast Patreon exclusive content episode. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and once again, it's great to have you guys here on this Football Friday. So I just got wrapped up with the live portion of the Football Podcast. We talked about all the games, we previewed all of them for this week, and we also recapped last night's game between the Saints and the Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars, they picked up their fifth win of the season, improving to 5-2. Saints dropped to 3-4. Yeah, I mean, watching that game last night, I mean, you know, I haven't really been, like, zoned in on Saints games this year. I mean, I definitely, obviously, been keeping up with everything. But definitely watching that game from start to finish, you see a lot of the problems that they're having on offense. I mean, giving up big plays on defense as well. The team just doesn't look right. And I think, listen, the talent is there. Like, I don't think the Saints, like, talent-wise are a bad team, but I just think, like, there's something up with them. I mean, the fans are talking about the play calling, like the offensive coordinator, and obviously Dennis Allen is the head coach. I think there definitely needs to be a change there. Depending on what, you know, the season turns out to be with the Saints. I mean, they still have a chance to win their division. But, you know, right now, they just don't look good. They don't look good. I mean, Derek Carr is throwing the ball almost 60 times. I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I said it, like, on the show, how many, like, because I think he threw the ball, like, 50-plus times last week, too, against the Texans. So let's actually look really quickly. So, yeah, he threw the ball exactly 50 times, 32 of 50. I mean, because if you look at his stats from every game this year, you know, he threw the ball at most 33 times, 36. Only threw the ball 18 times against the Packers, but also because he left with injury. 37 against the Bucs, 26 against the Patriots. Last 2 weeks, 50 and 55. Like, get a cut down on that a little bit. Now, again, it also has to deal with the fact that they have been trailing in the games the last couple of weeks. And at times they look good. Like, you know, Derek Carr makes a good throw, and you're like, oh, there it is. But then he makes a bad throw. You know, and he's not on the same page with his receivers. I mean, there was that one play, you know, I could think of last night, you know, when they were driving, you know, not on the same page with Olave, and just a lot of dump-offs to Kamara. Now, I'm not complaining because I have Kamara in fantasy, so I was happy about it. Ended up having almost 30 points in full PPR. Like, I'm okay with that. But, you know, for the Saints, like, you got to push the ball down the field. And listen, I think they try, because there was also that other play where Derek Carr threw it to Olave, and he was screaming, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And meanwhile, the ball was way out of bounds when he threw it. I don't know. It's definitely frustrating to be a Saints fan right now. And listen, they talked about it on the broadcast. I mean, for years, they had stability. They had Drew Brees, and they had Sean Payton. But, you know, now it's different. I mean, Sean Payton's now out in Denver, where he's, you know, not doing very well. And obviously Drew Brees is no longer there, although he was at the game last night. Yeah, I mean, they just don't look good right now. They got some problems. They got problems on defense. I mean, they given up that big play to Christian Kirk. You know, Travis Etienne was running the ball, you know, those 2 touchdown drives. You know, he got the Jags their first 2 touchdowns. And, you know, Derek Carr, and I feel like also Derek Carr is just really trying to thread the needle with some of his throws, and they're just not panning out. I mean, the pick six was one of them. That ball got deflected, and then they took it to the house there. Yeah, I mean, there's just the Saints have problems right now, and Derek Carr was injured in the game, like it looked like a groin injury. So, you know, I mean, he finished the game, so I think he should be fine for next week. I mean, Kamara's looked good. Michael Thomas has had a good year. He got his first touchdown last night. So, I mean, there are some things you could look at and say, hey, I mean, that's at least good for the Saints. But, you know, and they still have a chance at the division. They could still be a wild card team. But, you know, right now, not looking good. It's not looking good. And for the Jags, they look good. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he didn't have his best game, but the defense is playing better. They're running the football well. Obviously, they had that big play to Christian Kirk. And Trevor Lawrence actually ended up being their leading rusher last night. You know, 'cause, I mean, dealing with a knee injury didn't really seem to matter. He ran the ball effectively. So, yeah, Jags look good. They look like they have taken hold of this division, and it's their division to lose. So, then obviously previewed all the games. You know, some big games on the schedule. You know, you got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Those games are always great. Those are always classics, always one-score games. Don't be surprised that's going to happen again, although I'm a little nervous with the Chargers offense. Them coming in, they didn't look good last week against the Cowboys, and you know, obviously Justin Herbert is dealing with an injury on his non-throwing hand, so that's something to keep an eye on in this game. They did get Austin Eckler back, which was huge, but you know, the Chiefs' defense is playing well. You know, and the Chargers' defense hasn't been that good this year. Chiefs, this could be the game where their offense finally gets it together. I mean, they got McCole Hardman back, you know, a guy that's familiar with the system, and he should play. So we'll see what he does on Sunday. I think the Chiefs, they win this game, but it's definitely going to be close. Definitely going to be close. Chargers, I think, will put up some points. So we'll see if the game on Sunday, you know, matches up to the games over the last couple of seasons between these two teams. So, and then obviously you have the Eagles and the Dolphins this weekend. That should be a great game. I talked about how, like, you know, the Eagles stopping the run and, you know, running the football. That's going to be the key in this game, you know, make the Dolphins one-dimensional. And then obviously, you know, they got, you know, DeAndre Swift running the football well, and you have Gainwell back. You know, and obviously Hurts runs the ball. So that could be a key in the game. But obviously I expect this game should be very high scoring. You would think. You would think it's going to be high scoring. Eagles are favored in this game by 2.5. I talked about it on the live portion. I don't like the 2.5 point spreads. For some reason I just can't. I'm just not good at picking them. I'm not. And you know, I'm hoping for a bounce back this week in my spread pool. So I did go over like who I thought was going to win, things like that. So we'll go through my spread pool. Now with the CBS spread pool, the lines don't change because obviously in some games the lines did change. So right now I have the Bucks. You know, right now they're a 2.5 point favorite, so I picked them over the Falcons. I got the Bills over the Patriots covering the 8.5 point spread. It's a big spread, and the Bills are struggling offensively the last couple of weeks, but they have owned the Patriots the last couple of years, so I expect more of the same here. The Browns in my spread pool right now they're favored by a 1.5, but the line actually jumped a little bit. Right now it had the Browns at -3, so I think Colts at +3, Browns -3, whatever, same thing. And I think that's also because Deshaun Watson may or may not be playing. But yeah, the Browns defense looked really good last week against the Niners, and I think it's, you know, defense travels, so you know, I think they should be able to beat the Colts. The Lions, I took them with the 3.5, but I said the Ravens, I think, will win the game. But we'll see. That's one of the better games of the weekend as well. I took the Raiders right now. I mean, in the spread pool, it's a 3.5. The Bears are getting 3.5. They got Bajan starting for them. Hoyer starting for the Raiders. I think the Raiders right now are just a better team, by not that much. I mean, the Raiders are 3-3 right now, and listen, they win this game. They're over 500, so you got to give them credit. You know, if they get Devontae Adams the ball more, you know, that should definitely help. But we'll see. Giants are only getting 1.5 at home against Washington. I mean, listen, the Giants, they've done well against Washington. And Tyrod Taylor's probably going to be the quarterback again this week. I think the Giants can win this game. And if they don't, I don't know when they're ever going to win a game, to be honest. So, the Seahawks, actually in this pool, so the line jumped to 8. Seahawks in my pool, it was at 7.5. And listen, the Cardinals, they're a very good running team, and I could definitely see them still covering this spread, but I just feel like, the last couple weeks they kind of they've come back down to earth. I mean, they did get blown out against the Niners. They lost by 2 scores against the Bengals, and they only scored 9 points against the Rams. And listen, the Seahawks, I mean, this game could definitely be close, but the Seahawks have a better offense. I don't think the Cardinals are going to keep up with them. So I think the Seahawks cover the spread, but we'll see. I took the Rams against the Steelers. They're 3.5-point favorites. I just don't trust the Steelers' offense. I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Rams. The key in the game is obviously the Steelers' defense, because the Steelers' defense can step up and keep the game close, and the Steelers could upset the Rams. I could see that happening, but I just don't trust their offense right now. So I went with the Rams. The Packers are a 1.5-point favorite against the Broncos. I mean, I could see that going either way, even though the Broncos are terrible. But Jordan Love looked really bad against the Raiders, and their defense isn't the best. So, let's see. I don't know the status of Aaron Jones. I know he's still questionable, but let's see. Let's take a look at Aaron Jones and what his status is. So I look on Sleeper. So he's still questionable. So he was limited on Thursday. But we shall see. We'll see what happens. So we will, we'll find out more towards the, more towards Sunday, whether or not he plays or not. Yeah. So, sorry, I got a text message that I was just looking at. Yeah, we'll find out what happens. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, I mean, that definitely helps the Packers. Yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised. I mean, look at what, Jordan Love did against the Raiders, so, yeah. And then obviously, you got the Chargers and the Chiefs. I mean, we talked about it already. And we talked about the Dolphins and the Eagles. So, I got the Chiefs right now. I want to take the Chargers, and again, I'm not going to be surprised if they end up covering the spread. But right now, the Chiefs defense is playing really well. So, and the Chargers offense didn't look good. So, I mean, right, and the Chiefs are at home. So, I'm going to take the Chiefs at the moment. And I took the Eagles too. Actually, right now my spread pool, the line opened up at 1.5. So, and that's going to be a high scoring game. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. And, it's, we'll see what happens. But like I said, the key for that game is going to be, the Eagles, stopping the run, because, Mostert has been doing very well. I mean, you had Achane, who was running the ball well for the Dolphins as well. But, it's, something's got to give there. Eagles are good against the run. Dolphins are the best running team in the NFL. I mean, they're the best at everything. That's what's crazy. I mean, they're number one in passing, number one in rushing, number one in points. But again, I like I said on the live portion, it also has a lot to do with the fact that they, the 70 points against the Broncos. Still can't believe it. Still can't believe that happened. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the whole week. And obviously, I'll preview the 49ers Vikings game on Monday night. Obviously, that matchup could be a little different because, you're not going to have Justin Jefferson and most likely, well, I'm not going to say most likely, but you might not have Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel either. But, like a big week for some of these teams. I mean, the Eagles, they're trying to get themselves back on the right track. Here's another thing. Like, should we be worried about Jalen Hurts? Is he taking a step back? Because, 7 touchdowns and 7 picks is not good. Now, threw 3 picks in the game against the Jets, so that's, part of the reason why, the numbers are the way they are. But, I think the Eagles are going to be fine. Now, they lost their coordinators. But I think, listen, they're gonna figure it out. They'll be fine. One of the things, too, is, DeAndre Swift has definitely been, a revelation for them. Because, they went into this year, they signed Rashad Penny. They traded for Swift. You still had Gainwell. So, obviously, Penny and Swift have their issues, with their injuries. But, Swift has been awesome for them. It's just crazy how they just don't use Rashad Penny. They just do not use him. I guess maybe he's somebody that they probably incorporate more, towards the, the second half of the season. Maybe after the bye, he gets, more playing time. Because, he's working his way back from, I think, a broken leg, right? Something like that. So maybe, later in the season, they use him more. But DeAndre, they really haven't had to use him because DeAndre Swift has been awesome for them. So, he's really taken over, that lead running back role. So, and for the Dolphins, listen, Achan's out, but, Mostert is running the football well. I said, how are they going to defend Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? They probably won't. Both of those guys are probably going to have good games. I think it's going to be an offensive outburst. Both teams are going to be moving the ball against each other. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it should be. So, it might come down to who has the football last. Right now I side with the home team. But, the Dolphins can definitely win this game, of course. Both teams can win this game. Both teams are 5-1. So we'll see. I glossed over it, but, the Lions and the Ravens, that game's also very good. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's had a good year. Jared Goff has had a really good year. And, the Lions are coming in a little banged up in terms of their running backs. Because, David Montgomery, he left the game with injury, so they had to have Craig Reynolds run the football for them the rest of the way. So right now he's dealing with a rib injury. Jahmyr Gibbs has got a hamstring. They actually got a lot of guys that are questionable. Sam Laporta, he played last week, so I'm assuming he's going to play again. Brian Branch, ankle. Craig Reynolds, he actually is questionable with a hamstring. So we'll see. The Lions offense is averaging, 28 points per game. Ravens are averaging 22.2. Both defenses, Ravens defense is averaging 15.2 points per game. Lions are averaging 18.8 points per game. Yards per game, Lions, they're averaging 383.7. Ravens are averaging 339.2. Yards against per game, Ravens beat the Lions there, 260.8. Lions, 285.8. So actually look at the, where their offenses and defenses rank with the other statistics. On offense, Lions are 7th in passing yards. Ravens are 26th. Lions are 8th in rushing. Ravens are 5th. Points per game, Lions are 4th. Ravens are 15th. But Ravens defense is 4th in points allowed. Lions are 9th. Lions are actually 1st against the run. So the Ravens like to run the football. Lions are 1st against the run. So that's a key in the game. Ravens are good against the pass. Lions are 18th against the pass. So, yeah, this game is going to be close. This game is definitely going to be close. And we'll see again. Like a lot of it's going to also, it's all going to be, on, dictate how, how the Lions' backfield is in this game. We'll see. Because Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't played in a couple of games. David Montgomery has looked awesome for the Lions. And on the Ravens side, Zay Flowers has looked good at receiver for them. Obviously, the backfield situation isn't good because, you got J.K. Dobbins, who's out for the season with the Achilles. You got Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, but, it just seems like every year the Ravens' backfield is just a mess. There was that one year, a couple of years ago when Dobbins got hurt, and Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, I believe. They were all hurt, so they had to bring in Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, and Devontae Freeman. Like that, it just seems. Injuries in general with the Ravens, it's every year for them, and then Lamar gets hurt, at some point during the year, which you hope that doesn't happen. Because when he plays, the Ravens are a threat. I think it's going to be between them and the Bengals for the division. But all those teams can beat up on each other in the AFC North. The Steelers, they already beat the Ravens. Ravens already beat the Bengals. The Browns, they've already beaten. It's like a cycle. The Ravens beat the Bengals. The Steelers beat the Ravens and the Browns. Bengals lost to the Browns. And Ravens beat the Browns. It's a cycle. I still just, but Browns got a really good defense. Because I was just about to say, I still don't understand. Burrow just cannot beat the Browns. He did last year in Cincinnati, but in Cleveland, he's just so bad against them. But they have a very good defense, and you got to respect them. You have to respect them as a defense. Especially because of what they did against the Niners. They held the Niners to 17 points. Now, you could look at it and say, well, McCaffrey got hurt, Debo got hurt. Yeah, but, Ayuk is still playing. You still got Kittle. So, and Brock Purdy didn't throw an interception. He threw an interception in that game. So, you got to give the Browns respect. Right now, their issue is the quarterback position. That's their issue right now. So they got to get that figured out. If Watson does play, Watson, he's still questionable, limited. He's been limited, so maybe he does play, maybe he doesn't. But yeah, they invested a lot of money in Deshaun Watson, and if he doesn't pan out, that's gonna be a disaster. Then you look at Baker Mayfield and you're just like, why did we let him go? But, the Browns thought they were going to be getting, a very good quarterback. And listen, Deshaun Watson can very well figure it out, and this conversation doesn't mean anything, but I don't know. It hasn't looked good so far. So, we'll see. And again, we'll preview the Monday night game on Monday. Can the Giants get back on the right track against the Commanders? Can they get a win finally? Maybe. Sam Howell's looked good. But the defense, the Giants' defense has looked better the last 2 weeks. They're forcing turnovers. So, listen, I give them a chance to win this game. But the other thing, too, is, they're forcing turnovers. But guess what? They haven't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks. An offensive touchdown. How is that possible? How is that possible that they have not scored an offensive touchdown? Yeah, it's just same issues. Same issues with the team. But I think also it's, you just got to get better players. That's the bottom line. I think the coaching staff. I'm not gonna jump ship on them. I jumped ship on the season when they lost 40-0 against Dallas. I just did. But I mean, it's just every year it's the same thing with this team. Now, fortunately for them, unfortunately, if they want to get the first pick and draft a quarterback, fortunately for them, there's also teams that might be worse than them, like the Patriots, who they play. The Panthers don't have a win yet this year. The Broncos. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are a mess. So you could point to them and say, well, at least, we got these other teams keeping us company too. Thing is, Broncos might win on Sunday. They might. I mean, maybe the Packers went into the bye week and they worked on some things. Because Jordan Love looked good to start the year. But the Raiders game and the Lions game, well, the Raiders game especially, you got to be a little worried with what you saw. So, but again, Aaron Jones, you hope he plays. I mean, the Broncos' defense is a mess. They are really bad. So, the Packers maybe take advantage of that. Obviously, playing in the Mile High is different with the altitude and all that. So, we'll see how Jordan Love, deals with that. But they pretty much got everybody else. Dobbs, Christian Watson. They should be playing A.J. Dillon, even though he hasn't really been that good. I mean, he scored a touchdown a couple weeks ago. But, after that monster game he had in the snow during the COVID year against the Titans, when he ran for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, you thought, man, he's going to be a star. And then that ended up not being the case. They need help there at that position. And they signed James Robinson to the practice squad. So, maybe that helps if he gets added to the active roster, because they don't really have another back outside of Dillon and Jones. I think they have, what was the other one? Patrick Taylor, I think. But they need to get Aaron Jones healthy. And, watching, the Packers YouTuber I watch, obviously Tom Grassi, which many people know. He was talking about how, when Aaron Jones doesn't play, then Matt LaFleur just has no idea what to do. And that's not good. That's not good. If that's the case, that is not good. If you can't come up with a good game plan because one guy's hurt, that's a problem. But you know why? It's because you don't have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers made things so much easier for Matt LaFleur. And now he's not there. So now things are different. Now, again, I still think Jordan Love is going to be good, because I've seen some of the throws that he has made in these games. Now, again, the Raiders game, so many bad throws. But everything is week to week. Jordan Love, yeah, he looked really bad. Might not be the answer, whatever. But he could come back this week and throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you say, you know what? Maybe he is going to be good. It's, like I say with a lot of things, it's all about the trends. That's really what it comes down to. It's all about the trends. So, yeah, we'll just have to see what happens on Sunday. I mean, they got to. This is a get-right game for the Packers. This is. So, we'll just, like I always say, we'll just have to wait and see. But with that, once again, that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be doing the baseball show shortly after I wrap up with this. And then I will do the Patreon for that. I got my doubleheader today. It should be fun. But until then, make sure to tune in to that. Make sure the baseball show is every Friday now, just Fridays from 12:45 to 1:45 Eastern time, the live portion, and then obviously I record the Patreon after that. So, until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder, once again signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Once again, have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. Make sure to tune into the baseball show, which is coming up shortly. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys next time or in a little bit. Take care, and I'll see you then.